All right, today we're jumping into one of the most intense, most challenging stories in the entire book of Genesis. We're talking about the test of Abraham, what many people know as the binding of Isaac. It's a story that has had people wrestling with it for thousands of years because it really forces you to ask one very, very difficult question. And that's really the question at the heart of this whole thing. What is the ultimate test of faith? I mean, is it just about enduring hardship? Is it believing in something you can't see? Or is it something more? Is it being willing to give up the one thing you love more than anything else? That question is going to hang over every single moment of the story we're about to walk through.
After all these years of God making promises to Abraham, promises of land, a huge family, blessings, the story just takes this sharp, terrifying turn. This chapter doesn't start with a comforting word. No, it opens with a trial. And the text is crystal clear about this right from the very first line.
And what's so striking here is just how blunt the text is. The story doesn't make you guess what's going on. It just comes right out and says that God's whole point was to test Abraham. There's no hidden motive, no secret agenda. This is set up, right from the jump, as a direct examination of one man's devotion. And then we get the command itself. And wow, is it brutal. It's so specific. Just listen to how it builds. Your son, okay? Then your only son. Then it names him, Isaac. And finally, the real gut punch, whom you love. Each phrase just layers on the emotional weight, making it absolutely clear this isn't just about giving up an heir. This is about Abraham's heart, his entire future, the very thing God himself had promised him.
So, how does a person even respond to a command like that? Well, Abraham's reaction is maybe just as shocking as the command itself. There's no arguing, no begging. He doesn't ask if God has lost his mind. The text just says he gets up early the next morning, gets his things ready, and leaves. His response is just immediate, silent, absolute.
And this isn't something that's over in a few minutes. What follows is a 3-day journey. Can you even imagine that? 3 full days of walking, side by side, with the son you've been told to kill. You can just feel this incredible, unspoken tension, this heavy, awful silence hanging over every single step they take. You can just feel the minutes, the hours ticking by. Think about what must have been tearing through Abraham's mind. Day 1, it's the initial shock. Day 2, maybe this grim, terrible resolve starts to set in. And then by day 3, he sees the place. It's in the distance. And suddenly, it's real. The reality of what he has to do becomes completely unavoidable.
And this is where things get really complex, because he turns to his servants and says, "We will come back to you." Plural. So what is this? Is it a lie to make sure they don't follow and try to stop him? Or is it this profound, almost impossible statement of faith, a belief that somehow, against all logic, God is going to make a way for both of them to walk back down that mountain? The story just leaves that question hanging in the air for us to wrestle with.
And after all this time, this awful silence is finally broken. But it's not by Abraham. It's by Isaac. He's literally carrying the wood for his own sacrifice. And he asks this simple, logical, and absolutely heart-shattering question. He knows how this is supposed to work. He sees the fire. He sees the wood. But something is missing. This is the moment the abstract horror becomes a real, personal conversation between a father and his son.
And Abraham's answer, wow, it's just as layered as what he told the servants. God himself will provide the lamb. On one hand, it feels like he's dodging the question, but on the other, it's a prophecy. He has no idea how, but he's putting every ounce of his trust in God's ability to provide. And with those words, the two of them just keep walking, together.
Okay, so here we are. They've arrived. The long walk is over. There's nothing left to say. This is it, the climax of the entire story, the moment where faith has to become action. All that tension that's been building for 3 solid days is about to snap.
And just look at how deliberate, how methodical Abraham is here. He's not rushing. Every single action is described with this chilling precision. He builds the altar. He arranges the wood. He binds his son, his beloved son, and he lays him on the altar. The story forces us to watch every single heartbreaking step. This is the point of no return, the final, irreversible act. His hand is out. The knife is in his hand. He has followed this impossible command all the way to its final, terrible conclusion. He isn't just willing anymore. He's acting. This is the absolute peak of the test.
And then, at that exact moment, at the very last second, everything changes. The silence is completely shattered by a voice from heaven. The intervention is just as sudden and dramatic as the initial command was shocking.
The angel of the Lord calls his name, not once, but twice. You can hear the urgency in that call, right? Abraham, Abraham. It's a shout to stop, a sudden break on the awful momentum of what's happening. He's done it. He's reached the end of the test.
And right here, the whole point of this terrifying ordeal is laid bare. The test was never about whether Isaac would die. It was about whether Abraham was willing. The angel says it plainly. Now I know that you fear God. He passed. He proved he was willing to surrender everything, even the son of the promise. And notice, the text hits us with that painful phrase one more time, your son, your only son. Right at that moment, Abraham looks up, and there's a ram caught in a thicket by its horns. Remember what he told Isaac? God will provide the lamb. And here it is. It came true, just not in any way they could have possibly imagined. So he sacrifices the ram instead, and he names that place Jehovah-Jireh, which means the Lord will provide. But hold on, the story doesn't just end there with a sigh of relief. The test is over, yes, but now comes the reward. The angel calls out from heaven a second time, and this time it's not a test. It's a powerful, unconditional blessing that doubles down on every promise God had ever made to him. I mean, the scale of this blessing is just mind-blowing. It's not just you'll have a big family. It's a promise of descendants as uncountable as the stars in the night sky and the grains of sand on every seashore. Because he was willing to give up his one promised son, his family is now promised to be immeasurably vast. And it gets even bigger than that. The promise goes global. Through Abraham's family line, all nations on earth will be blessed. So this deeply personal, agonizing test of one man's faith results in a universal blessing for the entire world. And the reason is stated right there, because you have obeyed me. So, after all of that, the climax, the test, the blessing, what happens? They just go home. Abraham goes back to his servants, and they all travel back to Beersheba. It's such a simple, quiet ending after the immense drama that just played out on that mountain. Life just resumes. And then the chapter ends with this little note that feels kind of random at first. We get this piece of family news. Turns out, Abraham's grandniece, a girl named Rebecca, has been born. Now think about that for a second. Right after the story makes it clear that Isaac will live, the narrative immediately introduces the woman who is going to become his wife, the one who will ensure that the family line, the very line that was just at risk, will continue. It's not random at all. And all of this brings us right back to where we started. This story doesn't really give us any easy answers, does it? Instead, it just leaves us with this huge, profound, and honestly pretty unsettling question to think about for ourselves. When faith asks for the unimaginable, what does it truly mean to obey? And what is the ultimate price and the ultimate reward of that obedience?